Hi folks. My name is Jen Proud, and today we're going to be talking about building fundraising campaigns that convert. So in this chat, we're going to be going through a few different ways to leverage some of the fundraising materials that you might have in order to do more in Canva and hopefully reach more audiences with your fundraising goals and update them on the progress that you've been making. My name is Jen, as I said, and I'm the co-founder of OSnap, which is a Canva partner agency, but I have been working with Canva for about 7 years, teaching loads of design teams and non-designers how to leverage Canva better and do more with their brands. I've also worked in non-for-profit spaces in the past where there have been very few design resources available. So I know how hard it can be to create really compelling graphics when you may not have a design team or a designer available. Luckily now we have Canva, so there's a lot of resources right at our fingertips, which leads me to the next slide. Canva is free for non-for-profit. So not only do you have access as a non-for-profit to Canva, but you also have access to all the stock library of images and video, all the elements in the editor, and the other resources that are available across all of the elements that they provide. So it can really be a helpful tool to tell the story of your organization. And today I'm going to walk you through how to do that. We're going to start with just an overview of the basics of Canva. So I'll go through just where everything is located, but we're going to also talk about how to make sure that your workspace is set up in a really smart way. Because there's nothing more frustrating than getting into the middle of a design and realizing you need to find a logo or you need to find a color or something was done incorrectly because you had the wrong font. So when we set things up right from the beginning, it ensures that we'll have success once we're in the editor, and it'll make it really frictionless. We're also going to go into visualizing data. How can we be really creative when we have updates with how much money we've raised, areas that we're reaching, locations that we're reaching, and make it something that we can all be celebrating together. So we'll get into some of the data graphics and some of the cool things that we can do with them in Canva and how easy it is. And then we'll talk about expanding reach. So how can we amplify our message? How can we leverage tools in Canva to really create volume with the assets that we're producing for all of the different channels that we may want to start tapping into? So from here, I'm going to jump over into the home page. So you can see on the left here, we've got our primary menu. At the top is home. We also have like a quick create button. So if we know we want to start, we can even click the create button, and it'll give us some prompts that'll help us figure out the right size or asset type for us. We've got our projects, which are categorized in a few different ways. There's a folders tab, just all of the loose designs that have been most recently created. We can turn this into a tile view and see a preview of each of them. We can look at brand templates or things that have been saved previously for reuse. So it's a great starting place. And then we have images and videos. My favorite way to use this section is in the folder structure, because this is really similar to how my computer is set up or any of my other tools where I am collecting my files into folders. So I always recommend when people get started, not only to think about the file structure that they're going to need and start to get that going. We don't need to build them all out, but just to start thinking about what are some of the initial folders we want to have in place. And then what is the naming convention of those folders going to look like? Because the more we create in Canva, and once you see the volumes that you can start to create in Canva, we get a lot of files really fast because we can resize really quickly. We can translate really quickly, and those mean more files. So we want to keep things really neatly organized. At this point, we've got them organized by a group of brands. So On Now is the parent brand for this media company. We have their sports branding, we have their music branding, we have their news branding. And within each of these, you can see that we've got some different folders. Maybe we've got one for story outlines. Maybe we've got one for actual stories written, templates, brand assets. This might break into icons, elements, photography. So as you can see, if we can kind of create some folder structure here that gives us places to save the elements that we need to keep organized, it's going to make it not only easier for ourselves to find things and to keep things stored, but also for our other team members who may need to come in and pick up something where you've left off. So if there's somebody else who needs to jump in and it's really clearly named, they're going to have no problem finding everything that you've left behind. You'll also notice there's some stars here. These are really helpful. There's a little slide out menu here. And when when these folders are starred, they get pinned into this left bar. So if there is a folder that we're using really regularly, we would want to star that. And before I move on going down this left-hand side, I'm going to add a new folder here. So let's add a folder for fundraising. Fundraising, that's a good typo. Fundraising. We can decide who's going to be invited to this folder there. And then within this fundraising folder, I'm going to save a few files. So let's add new and we'll upload files. And I'm going to go into my fundraising and I'm going to grab all three of these. So you'll see I have a doc, a sheet, an Excel sheet, and a PDF. We're going to use these in a later demo. And so I want to show you not only that this is a great way to keep things organized, but also you can bring in other file types. Just because something was not created in Canva doesn't mean that you can't leverage it in Canva. So, you can now with Canva Sheets, use all of your data points the same way that you would anywhere else. So it's really easy to bring in any of these other file types, that you have, probably laying around, that you've used from past years, and there's no reason you can't leverage them again. And so we'll get into the rest of this in a minute, but I just wanted to show you can bring in all different kinds of file types, and leverage them, and they will be editable in Canva. Okay. So that's our folder structure. We want to keep everything neat and organized. So now we know we're going to be saving everything in this fundraising folder. We're going to also, just a quick peek, there's a templates tab here. This has pre-made templates by Canva and Canva creators. So these are categorized by size or by type of design. You can also search this template library, and it's a really good resource if you need to get started and you don't know exactly what you want yet. You can type some prompts in here and say, I need a modern email header for a fundraiser, and it'll give you some templates to get started with. They won't be perfect, but it's always a nice place to have as a jumping off point. And then we're going to go into brand next, and I'm going to pull this little fly out because we want to access the brand kits. So we've got our brand kits in here, and what's really nice about having a brand kit set up is that it means that you have a shortcut to all of the core elements of your brand. So let's go into On Now Group, and you can see already I've uploaded some logos into this brand kit, and added some colors and some fonts. So it really gives us the core of what we're going to be needing once we get into the editor. The logos are really simple to add. You can just upload them right here, or if they're already in a folder in one of your Canva projects, you can just link that folder in. I really like to use SVG file types because then the color is editable in Canva. So, makes it really easy to transition if you need it to be in all white. Or a different color down the road, you've got an editable logo. SVGs are also vector, so they're infinitely scalable, making it really simple to go from one design type to another design type later and not have to worry about the logo potentially looking degraded or pixelated. We've also added in colors. This is as simple as just typing in the hex code. So you can very easily, if you have your brand guidelines, you can go in here and type in the code for all of the colors. You can also add CMYK values. So CMYK is for print and the hex code is for anything that's going to be on screen in RGB. So now that we have both, we can flip back and forth again, depending on what file type, and the colors will automatically be adjusted, so that they represent, accurately in whatever that piece is going to be. You can see that we've also added a gradient in here, so you can choose multiple colors and then the style of gradient that you want, to use. And these are going to default with the hex code as the name, but we can change those to anything that's going to be helpful down the road. But I'm going to add maybe like one more tone here, just so we have a couple of dark tones. All right. And then, for fonts, we can add or upload a font if we have a licensed font that the brand is already using. It's as simple as just uploading that font in here, and then you can make assignments, on which weight you'd like to use for title, subtitle, heading. And it's as simple as just going into this drop down and selecting which one you'd like to use for each of the assignments. If you don't know, you don't need to fill them all in. It's just about getting a couple in so that when you go into the editor later, you have some that you can grab quickly or you can apply into a design. But it allows you to make different selections. So if you want to create some hierarchy, it's a really nice way to create some distribution of importance between the font types or the font weights early on, so that you already have some decisions made about what a title should look like versus perhaps a caption. This is especially helpful if you have multiple typefaces in your brand guidelines. Sometimes it can be confusing to figure out when to use each typeface. And this gives us some really predetermined decisions about what to use at what point in time. For photography, I have added in some different folders that exist within Canva. So let me actually let's unlink this one and we'll add it back in. So we can upload some photography. So I'm actually just going to grab some other ones here just so you can see. So we can either upload them loose, just like this, or we can add from a folder that's already existing in Canva through a link. So we can also do a link like this. And this is where having them really organized helps, because we can go in to photography and say, I want my photography folder to be linked here. Or we can even have multiple photography folders based on shoot date or location or topic. And we can link all of those folders in, and anything that gets added into the folder will automatically update in the brand kit. So it's a really nice way to keep everything fresh and up to date, and not always have to manually upload individual images in, because as you can see, these are, you're going to have just a large library here. So better to have kind of core photography loose, and anything that needs to be grouped in linked folders. And we've done the same here for graphics and icons. And you're not limited to one. You can add as many folders as you need. So it's a great way to keep all of them organized, because we're going to need to access this stuff quickly once we're in the editor, and it'll really help us to move fast and know that we're making the right on-brand decisions as we're creating our assets. So the only other thing I've got down here are some colors for charts. We're going to be doing some data visualizations. So I'm going to need more colors than I have available in my brand palette because potentially there's going to be 8 to 10 data points. So I've got some additional colors here for charts so that I have enough for my data biz. All right. So now that we've got this set up, I know it seems like a lot of work, but once we get this set up, it really sets us up for success once we get into the editor because now we can move really fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our projects and I am going to go back into fundraising and we're going to open up this PDF because I want to show you how you can leverage an asset that you've already designed in the past. So this is a PDF that we brought in. We're going to move it into the editor. And as you can see, everything is now editable. So we can go in here and I can change this really, really easily. So all of the text is editable. The graphics we can swap out if we want to swap something out, but I can leverage a design from a previous year and know that I can update it for that next year, especially if it is something like this. It's a reporting document and we want to be able to use it year over year and just kind of add the updates that are applicable for what's been going on. So this is a quick way to move quickly and turn something that maybe feels like it's not usable into something that we can leverage for future designs. On this page, you can see that we still needed a chart. So we've got our 10-year fundraising data. We don't have a chart for this. So let's go and show you the multi-doc and we'll bring in some of our data and get a chart in here. So I'm going to go into this tile on the end and I've clicked this up caret and it's giving me other options for different doc types. So I'm going to choose sheet because I want to start working with some of my data. And I'm going to go to actions and I'm going to go to import data. And I want to upload data. Well, I'm going to go back to, we had also saved this in the folder, so we could open that separately, but I'm going to just upload it because it'll just bring it all right into the sheet too. So you can see both ways that we can kind of leverage data that, or assets in general that may live outside of Canva. So now we'll replace our current page and now all of our data points are on this additional page. So we've combined two doc types, which is also really nice. We've got our presentation, but we've also got all of our data in the spreadsheet. So we have a quick reference to it, which is super nice. We're going to go to magic charts. We're going to go for an area chart. And this is what we want. So now we've got it in all of our proper colors. We can see our colors populated in. And we've got a chart here next to all of our data. And this is the one I want to use in my presentation. So it's nice because we can toggle back and forth until we're ready. And once we're ready, we can copy this chart onto our slide. Could do that if I really wanted it to be matching the background as well. Cool. So now you can see we've got our chart added onto this slide and it was super easy to leverage some data that we had in order to make this chart. And we can edit this chart even now in this slide any way that we want. So if we need to evolve this chart in some way, we can very easily do that. We can change the labels on the X or Y axis here. We can change even the type of chart that it is if we change our mind and we want a different chart type. So just because we've removed it out of the sheet doesn't mean we lose manipulation power. We can really change it to make sure that we're telling the right story as we move forward. And we can see that we also have the numbers that are linking in from this source. So as the source changes, we know that the numbers are linked to that. Cool. So now you can see this is one example of how we have leveraged an existing PDF to create some new content and update some data visualizations within. And you can see that we've also looked at a multi-doc and how you can work with a presentation and perhaps a sheet, even all in the same document, and toggle between the two really, really easily. So next, let's assume we don't have a starting place like we do in this instance. So let's close these up. And let's go back to the homepage and let's start and look for a template that we want to work with. So I can show you what the brand kit looks like if we're working with something from scratch. So we want a, let's see, how about, let's add, modern donation impact report presentation. So I like to put a few things together here. I like to tell it the style that I like, being modern or simple or clean, whatever it is that you like for your brands. I want it to know that this is for donations. It's an impact report and it needs to be in a presentation format. So it doesn't have to be pretty, right? But I want to get all of those ideas in because it's going to leverage that, to find me the best fit in the library of templates. So I want to give it enough information so that I can get as close as possible because I don't want to have to necessarily start from scratch. I'd love to have something that I could manipulate with. And you can see in the bottom, it'll start to give you some previews even. So if I think, oh, I'm like, well, maybe modern wasn't the right word that I wanted, I can change to simple and see what results I then get instead. Kind of liked modern. Let's go back. Okay, so this is my my search. We'll hit enter and we'll get some results here. Okay, so now we've got our results of different impact reports or annual reports. These are all in a presentation format, and they all clearly will have some level of data involved. So this is really great because I know that no matter what I pick, I'm going to get like some essence of like what I need. I like this one, because I know that my brand is similar colors. It's kind of boxy like this. So I like to know that I pick something where my brand is going to translate really well. It's okay to pick something that doesn't match perfectly, but the closer it feels, the more natural it will fit typically. So we're going to select this one and we're going to say customize template, and it's going to make us a copy of this template. One thing I want to mention, actually, I went a little too fast there. If we go back, I always like to tell people this because once you find templates that you really like, sometimes you want to find more of them. And so a little cheat code is you can see who the designer is of a template right here. And you can click on them, you can follow them, and you can also star templates that you like, and it will keep them in your save template section. And this is a really nice way to know that you can find a few templates that have a similar style, and then they'll hang together if you're doing a campaign. So I really encourage you to focus on remembering designers that you like and following them if you are using templates on a regular basis, because why search up and down if you already have somebody that is making designs that appeal to you. So it's a great way to kind of ensure that you're going to start to find more things that you like. The same, but we're going to start here. So we've got our design and we want this to be branded. So we have to start with just applying our brand, our colors, our type. there's a really, really easy way to do this. So we're going to go into design up at the top here. And we're going to go over to styles. So you can see there's this little layout here. And this is where it's going to help me to make broad changes. So I can apply all of my brand colors. And every time I click it, it's just going to rotate. Okay. Quickly. It just applied all of my brand colors. And then I can also apply all of my brand fonts just in one click. It's already applied them all to this slide. And the same thing, I can just go one by one and apply my brand colors and my brand fonts. And we're turning a design that was not ours into something that feels on brand and we're going to be able to use really quickly. And every time I click, it gives me a different variation, which is kind of fun. So I just, we don't necessarily need them all to be exactly the same. So it gives me lots of options. Sometimes we want different sections to be different colors. So this is a really nice way it's just like a little shuffle. So we can see some different variations on how the colors might change. And sometimes they're not exactly right. And then we do need to make our own edits. Like this one in particular, I'm not a huge fan of what it's doing, but it's getting me closer than having to do it all from scratch. So we'll change that one. Let's just fly through these last few and then a break slide. Actually, let's go. I really like the pink. Okay. Because pink is the primary. Awesome. Did we change that? Okay, yes. So now we have a fully branded deck. And we just need to swap in copy for what we need. We can swap out the logo. So this is where the brand kit comes in really, really handy. So let's remove this. We're going to go down this line here to where it says brand with a little crown. This is where our logo is. Okay. We have our logo here. And now this is what I was saying earlier. When we have an SVG, it allows us to manipulate the color. So I don't upload a white version and a black version. I just upload one color into the brand kit because I know that when I get here, I can change it. There may be cases to do it, depending on how you want to use it. But I know that I can manipulate it in the editor, which is really, really nice. And we've already got even our set brand colors, they're separated from everything else. So I know that these are all of the colors that are approved. It's the same thing here. It's the same little shuffle functionality. So if I needed to keep shuffling this, you can see I also have my fonts here. So if I was on a new slide and I decided I needed a new subheading, I could very quickly come in here and just click that and bring it in. And then you can also see all of the other assets that we had linked in or uploaded in. So, on pages like this, we can bring in our own photography. Let's see what else do we have. Let's bring in some, we just drag them in. And the reason they fit and snap in there so nicely is because these are frames. So I'm just going to quickly show you some of the other elements that are really helpful as you're designing. So in this elements panel, you can see we have our recently used, we also have shapes. So like if we wanted to make a little call to action button, we could do something like that, and we could add a link here to a page where somebody could donate. Okay, so we've got shapes that we can use. We have other graphics. So if we were looking for something like it'll give us a bunch of different graphics that we can use and choose between. Okay, so now we can add a little element in that's hand drawn. Okay. There's also photography. So if we go down, you can see there's loads of photos and videos. So fundraising. We can see all of these different images that are available to us. So there's loads in the library here that we can leverage. And then the frames. So let's go back here and I'll show you where the frames are. And then the last thing are these frames. There's charts here as well. So that if you wanted to start with a chart instead of going from a sheet, you absolutely could. But I really like these frames, and it's anything that kind of has this cloud motif in it. You can take an image and you can just drag it right inside of that space and it's going to automatically crop it. When you double click, you're able to move that around any way that you want. And when you drag these flat nodes on the side, then you can change the area that's cropped. When you grab the circle nodes on the corners, you can scale it. So it's really nice because there's a lot of assets in here, and the cropping makes it really easy to swap things in and out. So this is a look at how we can take something like a non-branded template and turn it into a branded piece really, really quickly. Let's just get this. I don't know what happened to our other logo, but let's just get this in here so that we can look at the beginning of this and kind of see our results. All right, so let's take a look at how we can now leverage this to create some other assets. We have one slide here that I really like, and I want to use it to make some social posts because it summarizes really well what we're trying to do in this fundraising campaign. So this is the single slide. And I basically want to make like a social post out of this. Like I want to see if there's other things I can leverage this for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to resize. And I'm going to ask it to make this into a video and a reel and maybe a flyer. So that I have like a few different things I can use it for. And I'm not going to resize. Actually, I'm not going to resize this. I want to make a copy. Okay. So I want to make a copy of this design. And now I have 3 designs here that have been resized, and I'm going to have to do some tweaking, but let's just pop these open. So you can see like the format is pretty different. So I need to figure out how I want to arrange this. But in general, I can kind of take all of this and at least scale it up to start. We can move this down to the bottom with this image. So at least we've got a good starting place here to kind of figure out how we want this to look. The only thing I see is that we really need to change the size of that. But now we're fitting in the space pretty well here. Okay. I generally like to keep things kind of locked up and grouped together and just scale them all up. Occasionally, we have to move an image, but this is our preview now. We can see what it would look like in a flyer format, which is pretty nice. Obviously this is print, so we won't have a button here. Maybe we add some contact information instead. We have to change the context of this to be accurate, but we've got it now also in a flyer format. And we can see here, this is also, you know what I might do? And I'll say this is one of my tricks is I will typically find something that is similar orientation, so that I don't have to worry so much about editing it. So I will try to start with like a square, and then I will translate the square into both horizontal and vertical mediums, because the square, it'll be easy to stretch both up and out. Or if I know mostly everything's going to be horizontal, I will start with horizontal, and then resize to my other horizontals, and then resize to my other verticals once a vertical has been set up. Because you can see they are just too different enough where you really do have to do some shifting. So if you're smart about the order that you resize things in, it can save you a little bit of trouble. But in this situation, we've got, here we go, let's make that bigger again. Great, so now we've got a video. So this one's a little bit interesting. I'm just gonna show you quickly how we can take something that was a static print piece and we can do some animation. So you can see down at the bottom, we've got like our little timeline. So, you know, depending on if we want to add additional frames here, we could potentially add other frames with different pieces of copy or text and different images in them. But for the sake of this, we're going to just grab absolutely everything. And I'm going to go to the top where it says animate. And we're going to do page and magic animate. So this is Canva's amazing Magic Studio tool that will give us a recommendation on how everything on the page should be moving. So instead of me having to go through one by one and select, you know, what's going to move where, it's going to give me a recommendation on how it moves. So we have bold, elegant, energetic. Okay, so we have all of these different choices, which is super nice because then I don't have to go through and figure out how to make the whole thing work together. It's just going to give me this proposal, which is amazing. So we can see now we've got everything with different animations, and we can go to the top and we can see a preview. And now that this one is done, we would go ahead and we would download or publish to Instagram. So we could download it as an MP4, or we could even just post it directly onto Instagram, which is amazing. There's also other socials here, so it doesn't necessarily have to just be Instagram. You can connect to any of the accounts that you're posting on or messaging, and make it even quicker. There's no upload download. You can just post direct. Same thing goes for our print flyer. When you're ready to publish it, you can download it as a PDF for print, or as you saw, there was a prompt on the side. Oh, print with Canva. Here we go. Print with Canva. You can have Canva print you some really beautiful flyers. And you can choose different paper stocks, different finishes, but they really have made it so inclusive all in one platform that you can do all of the tasks that would have taken you, you know, talking to different vendors and different publishers, all now in one place. And we know these are going to be also the accurate CMYK colors for print because it was made in Canva and the brand kit already has those CMYKs assigned to them. So you don't need a designer to double check all of that. It's going to get double checked because it was set up in our brand kit and it's done. The last thing that I'll show you is a little bit of how we might work within email. So knowing that email fundraising is really important, we're going to resize this one in particular for email as an email header. And we'll open that up. Okay. We don't need any of this, but we would imagine there's probably some form of a headline up there, or at least the logo. And we'll just get this stuff all bigger. Okay. And now I'll show you how we can get this. Here we go. Maybe we'll even go bigger. Okay, so we can change the size here, obviously. We can close the spacing between the lines, I think, a bit, just to get some more room, right? And then we've got this. We can leave this element in if we want. Maybe we move it over a bit, just since this is for email. Okay, so now we've shuffled our elements around a bit, just so we know they're ready for this specific application of an email header. And then we can go to share at the top. And this I think is really cool because you can, oh, I'm sorry. I picked the wrong thing. I need to go here first. MailChimp. So, you can see there's an integration with MailChimp, and so we can tell it to sync with MailChimp. And then when we go into our MailChimp editor, and we are looking for an image from our uploads from the library, this will be there ready for us. So we can create all of the individual pieces that we need for an email all in Canva, and then very easily have them at our fingertips when we get into MailChimp and when we're composing that email where we may be asking for donations. So I love that it can all kind of be done here, and then it seamlessly moves into MailChimp. And the way that we can think about this is you can create kind of all of the Lego pieces that you're going to need. So it might look like this for the header and something similar shaped, but as a call to action with that button, asking for donations, and we could link that image, in MailChimp to the donation page. So that's our kind of our call to action. And then if we're talking about different things that are going on in the organization, like a fundraising gala or a milestone that has been met, we can create other design assets so that we have some imagery to go along with each of those little stories. So we might make a gala. Let's even just do it while we're talking. So we might make like a little gala graphic. So let's say there's going to be like a fundraising gala. This one is print, but it doesn't really matter. We can open it up, and then we'd want it to likely be a square of some sort. So we could resize it, and we can tell it that we want it to be a custom size. And it doesn't have to, we can tell it pixels instead, or we can even do, let's just do 500 by 500. So it's nice and clean. We can resize this design. So we'll leave it exactly the same. And then we've got something that we can leverage, in the email itself. And we don't need all of this, but maybe we've got some of the information about the gala itself so that there's something really engaging that gets people to want to participate. Let's even see what happens when we apply our brands, right? Because we can do that here too. So let's apply the colors. Let's apply the type. So now we've got, oh, it's made it white, I think. Let's see. I might need to do that one more time. There we go. Okay. Let's make this uppercase. I think that's what changed. This is also not uppercase. I just need to change these to uppercase, then we'll be good. I think it just lowercased everything. Okay, cool. And then we could even find a different, graphic if we wanted something different here. But point being, when we get then back into MailChimp again, we can use this to be kind of something visual that connects with the audience and makes them feel engaged and connected and like they're part of what's going on with your organization. So it's a really nice way to add some other graphics potentially into your emails that otherwise may be text only. So we can complement them with all types of graphics like this, or even just photography. So, we could make a few here and then also have, something where, let's see, let's do it similar to how we did the other one. And let's bring in an element. I really want to use the frame because I wanted to crop appropriately. So let's make this like a framed image. And let's say we are talking about a fundraising goal. We can look at all of our photos, and let's say, we want to talk about a goal being met, and now we have some photography here that we can bring in, you know, whatever it might be. Easily bring in whatever image. And now we've got different assets for our emails. So really thinking about how we can kind of complement the whole campaign throughout each touch point. And we can leverage Canva for all of that. I am going to go through some of the AI tools really quickly here, just so that we can see some of the really interesting stuff that Canva can do. So, you know, I think one thing I'll say really quickly, just while at least I'm in the editor, and then we're going to move out of the editor, is that when we are using photography within the editor here, oops, wrong frame. There we go. We can use the tools that are in this top bar, like the background remover. Like I'll just demo that one really quick, so that we can see how stuff like that gets used. But the other thing we can do is go into edit, and you can see there's a number of different Magic Studio features that will help you to leverage the imagery that's available in Canva and then manipulate it however you need to manipulate it. So if you need to expand the background, or you need to move an element, you know, let's say we wanted to move this element. Let's just do it. Actually, let's not talk about it. Let's do it. If we want to move this element here, let's see, I think I might have to brush stroke it. Here, hold on. Let's do this. Okay, so let's say we want to collect this little bit and move it. We can. All right. Okay, we're going to grab that. And now we can move this. So let's say we just needed to move it down. So it's be on the bottom. Okay, so now we've got the ability to move it, or like we just didn't want it at all. We needed something else to be there. So we don't really need a designer to do those types of edits for us any longer. You know, we can do them using the AI tools that are available to us in Canva to make those modifications. Okay. Let's go back to the home page, because the last thing that I would like to demo that I think is really, really cool is Canva AI. So on our homepage, we have, you know, shortcuts to all of the different templates. And then there's an amazing search here too. So if we're searching for our own files or templates, we can do that here. But Canva AI has a number of different abilities. And so I'm going to ask it to code for me. And I am going to ask it to, I always like to use my manners. So please create a donation tracker for me that actually, donation calculator for me that shows how a contribution will be matched by a donating sponsor. Okay, so we're coding for me. This might take a minute, so here we go. You can see it going. It's coding. Amazing. So now we see that we have a donation impact calendar or a calculator, and we can show what our donation is going to be. We can show the different match types. You know, we can ask it to set these for us. We were pretty vague in our prompt. But let's say it's a 2-to-1 match. And then we can see what that looks like. And then, you know, we can't make the donation necessarily, but this is, this is definitely like a way that you could leverage this. Maybe it's more of just a ticker or something like that, but it's a very cool way to show how you can leverage the AI that's available in here to make some really interesting widgets. And then this is available then in any of your designs within Canva. There is no code for your website, but this is available in any of the Canva doc types. So we can use this in any design that we want. And we can have this also on a Canva website. So using a Canva website, or if we were to put this in our presentation, we'd be able to, have somebody use this like interactively in the presentation itself. I want to do one more. So let's go back. We'll go back. Okay. So I want to have it create something for me, but I'm going to have it, design it for me instead this time. So please make me an impact report. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask it to leverage the doc that I had uploaded. So here's that doc, because I already did an outline for this presentation. I already know what's going to be in the report. I just haven't designed it. So here's my doc. And then now I would like to ask for it to do this for me. And I want it to design it into a presentation. So let's see what we get. Awesome. So it took our prompt and it's giving us some recommendations. So we've got a couple here, that it's proposed for us. And I can start with any of these. Let's say I want to use this one. This one's kind of cool, right? And, again, I could see how our colors like might really work nicely here. So let's use this in the Canva editor. And then similar to what we did with these others, we can go to design and styles and we can immediately just apply our brand and our fonts to any of these pages, and bring it right in line with our brand fairly instantly, which is really, really helpful because, now we just went from, a text document to something that actually really talks about what it is, within the context. We've got it's manipulated into something visual very, very quickly. So you can see this is, gone from, the magic design that, the AI has built out into something that we can, very quickly, leverage. We can add our photos in here again. Again, it's like a crop. And then let's just, we'll get our logo in there so that we can see how that looks. And as you can see, the text is all also manipulatable. So we can just update that very quickly. And we've got a report, that it was able to help us make. The last part that I'll just share on how to, share these with the world, that I really love is there's a public view link. So you can translate this into a website as well so that it can also be publicly viewable. But I really like the public view link because it'll take it from the exact format that it's in, and it'll make it shareable, with whoever your audiences are. So it'll just give us a link here, and we can copy that link and we can share it around. So if there is a link in here or that calculator and we were to share it out, somebody would be able to interact with it. We'd still get all of these wonderful animations. The other thing you can do is, we can customize the link. So, this might be going to a specific group. We can now monitor how much engagement we're getting from that specific group who this link was copied and sent to. So we can make multiple links for multiple groups if we want. So if we go back here, you can see I can add another link, and I can make this for donation group 2 and 3, and then I can track them all separately. So it gives us some really nice ability to share directly out of Canva and measure who's looking at the designs, where they're spending time, which page they're spending time on, if they're engaging with the things that we hope that they're engaging with. And then obviously we can see if we're gaining donation through these different assets that we've created. So overall, we've really looked at how to set up your Canva the right way so that you've got all of your branded assets all in one place, and it makes it really easy to make sure that no matter what you're creating, it's on brand. We've talked about how to import file types so that you can leverage files that you already have and use them for future designs. We've gone through data visualization and using your Excel files or data that you have in order to do some storytelling using those charts and graphs that are native to Canva and are also really fun and interactive. And then we've gone through how to use templates and apply our brand to templates, how to resize things into multiple sizes, and then different ways that we can share out using social channels or MailChimp. And then just a quick preview at some of the AI and Magic Studio features. But I would absolutely recommend that you just kind of get into Canva and play around with them a bit, because it is amazing the things that they can do. And the best way to experiment with them is to just kind of get in there and give them, little test prompts and see what you get. So, thanks for spending time with me on this demo, and good luck on all of your fundraising.